Today, I want to think about who you are. When you think about it means this to be me, and you think about the titles that you carry, the titles that have been placed on you, the titles that you've created, the titles that you've chosen, the titles that you were maybe born with or that you've achieved through different accomplishments. I want you to think about how each of those titles make you feel. So if you're in a place that you can grab a piece of paper, grab a piece of paper because there is definitely science behind when we are thinking about things, putting them onto paper. But if you're just listening today, that's okay too. But I want you to think about yourself in the middle of all these different circles, almost like a Venn diagram with you in the middle. And you have all these different branches that are reaching out from you. And each of these are your titles. They're parts of who you are. Maybe one is daughter. Maybe one is wife or partner. Maybe it's mom. Maybe it's friend, employee, coworker, teammate, business owner, sister. These are all the different titles that you may carry, and there's many more. Maybe this is a certificate you've received or a credential. What are all the different things that make you up? Again, write all these different branches outside of you, because so often we focus on the ones that we have no control over. We focus on just feeling like we're just us. And the fact of the matter is, it's a combination. It's a combination of all these different versions of us. And all the different versions of us are actually really beautiful, even the ones that we maybe don't want to claim or don't love. Maybe they carry hard relationships. Maybe when you hear the term daughter, that brings up things that are difficult for you. Maybe when you hear the term sister, that brings up something difficult for you, or employee, friend, coworker. Maybe it's a degree that you no longer feel associated with. What are all the different titles? Now, I want you to look at those and realize how beautiful it is that you are all of those things, that you have all of these branches, all these different layers to you and who you are. Think about how that makes you feel. But I also want you to think about how you are identified. Now, how someone explains us and identifies us is often different than our titles. And I want you to think about how you identify yourself currently. Right now, if I were to be sitting with you and I said, tell me about you, tell me about yourself, what would you say? What would you say about yourself? This is a question that so many people don't like, but so often this is part of how we get to know ourselves and others. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if someone says, hey, tell me about you. But this is not a question that many of us feel comfortable answering. And part of it's because we don't even know how we want to identify ourselves. So when you think about all your branches, plus just who you are, how do you identify yourself? How would you explain yourself right now? Often it sounds a little bit like this. Well, I'm a mom. My kids are this age, and this age, and here's what I do. Okay, those are a couple of your branches, and some of those are really great, but there's so much more to you. What do you like to do for fun? I want to know what you're doing on a Tuesday night. And what are you doing on a Tuesday night in the summer versus in the winter? And if I were to give you $10,000 tomorrow, how would you spend it? And if we were to go on a vacation and you were to plan everything, where would you want to go? I want to know about your branches. I want to know about who you are. What do you like to do? How do you identify yourself? And how do you think others would explain you? If I were to ask your kids, tell me about your mom. Or if I were to ask your partner or some of your friends or family members, what would they say? And I actually really like outlining the good and the bad. So if you think that someone would say something about you that you're not necessarily proud of, I actually want you to lean into that for this exercise. Think about, why would that person say that thing about you? And if it's totally just not true and unregarded, That's okay, but put it on the piece of paper anyways. Think about how would others currently explain you, and how would you currently explain yourself? And once you've taken some time to think about how you're currently identifying yourself and how you think others have previously identified you or currently would, I want you to think about how you want to view yourself. If someone a year from now were to ask you about yourself, how do you want to respond? How do you want to see yourself? Think about maybe if you walk up to a mirror, the first things that come up to you about yourself, or if you were to be writing a professional biography and you were to be explaining who you are, what are the things that you want to say? Are there characteristics that you haven't been nurturing about yourself that you want to, that you would like to? And then how do you want others to explain you? If your kids go into the first day of school next year and they say, write 3 sentences about your mom, what do you want those sentences to say? It might not be what they would write right now, but if you had a year to build it, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want your coworkers to say about you? What do you want your family members to say about you? Because when we can identify what we want people to say about us and who we want to be, then we have a framework of where we want to go and what we want to create. Now, this doesn't mean that we want to live a life that we're just going after what other people should say about us or see, but it's more about building your character and your values and figuring out how do you want to show up. It doesn't mean they are going to associate you with this because we don't control anyone else. We don't control what they say about us, but we do control what we want out of ourselves. So think about all your branches, all your titles. How are you currently identifying yourself? How are others currently identifying you? And are there any shifts you want to make? How do you want to view yourself? How do you want others to explain you or see you? What do you want to be explained as? Who do you want to be? Sending you so much love, Mama. Keep going after those goals. If you need any support with this exercise, if this is something that you would like help with, I call this the titles of you. Go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at Mama Has Goals, MOMMA has goals, and tell me a little bit about these titles. Tell me about how you're identifying yourself. I want to know what resonated with you and how I can support you. That's what we're here for. So work through this exercise, think a little bit about it, and reach out. Reach out and tell me what's coming up for you. Sending you so much love. Have a great week.